There comes a moment in life when you look in the mirror and you realize that the person staring back at you is carrying dreams they haven't touched yet, gifts they haven't unwrapped yet, and potential they haven't even begun to use. And the question that hits your chest like a thunderbolt is this: am I wasting myself? I want you to think about that for a second. Not wasting time, not wasting money, not wasting opportunities, but wasting yourself. Wasting the very essence of who you are, the fire inside you, the strength, the talents, the ideas, the dreams that were placed inside you for a reason. I remember years ago, a young man came up to me after a talk. His eyes were full of tears. He said, Mr. Brown, I feel like I'm existing, not living. I go to work, I come home, I eat, I sleep, and then I do it all over again. I'm not happy, I'm not growing, and I'm not using my life for anything meaningful. And I looked at him and I said, son, the greatest tragedy in life is not death. The greatest tragedy is to be alive and not really live. To be breathing, but not pursuing your purpose. To be here, but to waste yourself. That's what I want to talk to you about today. Because I believe that there are far too many people walking around this planet who have settled for less than they deserve. Too many people who have silenced their own voices, buried their own talents, and locked their dreams in a cage of fear, doubt, and procrastination. And if you're listening to me right now, I want you to know this: you were not born to waste yourself. You were born to rise, to fight, to create, to build, to shine. So today, I want to take you on a journey through the 9 truths that can liberate you from wasting your life and help you step into the person you were always meant to be. Each of these truths is not theory, not philosophy, but real, raw lessons carved out of life itself. And as we walk through them, I want you to imagine that I'm not just speaking to a crowd. I'm speaking directly to you. Because this message is personal, it's urgent, and it matters. Recognize the value of your life. The first step in making sure you don't waste yourself is to recognize the value of your life. Let me ask you something. Do you really know how valuable you are? Not in dollars, not in material things, but in sheer existence. You see, the problem is most people walk around with a discounted version of themselves. They don't know their worth, so they settle for less. They settle for jobs that drain them, relationships that break them, and routines that suffocate them. And when you don't know your value, you'll let the world put a cheap price tag on your soul. Imagine a diamond. If you hand it to someone who doesn't know what it is, they might treat it like a piece of glass. They'll toss it aside, step on it, maybe even throw it away. But if you take that same diamond to a jeweler, someone who knows its worth, they'll guard it, protect it, and display it with pride. The difference isn't in the diamond. It's in the recognition of its value. And that's you. You are a diamond. But if you don't recognize your worth, you'll keep handing yourself over to people, situations, and environments that treat you like glass. I remember when I was younger, people laughed at me because I was adopted, because I was labeled dukable, mentally retarded, because I struggled in school. And for a long time, I believed them. I believed I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't worthy of more. But then one day, a teacher looked at me and said, someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And I realized I've been wasting myself by letting others define my worth. When you recognize your value, everything changes. You stop begging for acceptance and start owning your place. You stop chasing validation and start walking with confidence. You stop wasting energy on people who don't see you, and you start building with those who do. But here's the challenge: the world will not always remind you of your worth. In fact, The world will often try to convince you that you're less than you are. That's why you have to be the one to remind yourself daily. I am valuable. I am worthy. I am here for a reason. So let me leave you with this truth. For this chapter, don't waste yourself by shrinking to fit into small places when you were built to stand tall. Don't waste yourself by letting others write your story when the pen is in your hand. Don't waste yourself by forgetting your worth because the world needs what you carry inside you. Stop living on excuses. If there's one thing that robs more people of their destiny than anything else, it's not a lack of talent, not a lack of opportunity, and not even a lack of resources. It's excuses. Excuses are the comfort food of the mind. They are the soft pillow we lay our heads on when we don't want to face the hard truth. Excuses are the silent killers of dreams. And if you want to make sure you don't waste yourself, you've got to make a decision today. No more excuses. I know what it's like to make excuses. I know what it's like to say, I can't do this because I wasn't born into the right family, because I don't have the education, because I don't have the money, because I don't know the right people. I used to think all of that. I used to believe that the circumstances of my life were an unbreakable wall keeping me from moving forward. But here's the truth I learned the hard way. Excuses build walls, and walls keep you trapped. There was a time when I let those excuses paralyze me. I remember walking into a radio station, trembling, asking for a job. I had no background, no voice training, nothing that made me stand out. The manager looked me in the eye and said, "We don't have a job for you." Now, right there, I could have built an excuse. I could have walked away saying, "Well, I tried. It didn't work. Maybe this dream isn't for me." But instead, I made a choice. I refused to let that excuse define me. I showed up every day, hanging around that station, running errands, cleaning floors, getting sandwiches. And one day, when the DJ on air got drunk, they called me. That was my shot. And because I hadn't wasted myself making excuses, I was ready. That moment changed my life. Excuses are seductive because they give you permission to stay the same. They give you a reason not to take the risk, not to make the change, not to step into the unknown. They whisper to you, it's not your fault. It's out of your control. Just stay here where it's safe. But listen to me, safe is not where growth happens. Safe is not where dreams come alive. Safe is where people die long before they're buried. Think about how many lives have been wasted because people excuse themselves from their own greatness. Excuses don't sound dangerous. They sound reasonable. I'll start tomorrow. I don't have the time. I'm too old. I'm too young. Nobody will support me. The world is against me. And every single one of those reasons sounds convincing. Until you realize that years have passed and you've done nothing but sit on the sidelines of your own life. I want to challenge you to confront your excuses right now. Ask yourself, what excuse am I holding onto that's keeping me from becoming who I know I can be? Maybe it's fear of failure. Maybe it's the belief that your past defines you. Maybe it's the lie that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough. Whatever it is, shine a light on it. Because once you expose an excuse, it loses its power. When I finally stopped making excuses, my life began to expand. I realized that my background didn't have to hold me back. It could fuel me. My lack of formal education didn't have to silence me. It could push me to learn, to grow, to develop myself beyond the walls of a classroom. I turned every "I can't" into an "I must." And that shift changed everything. You cannot afford to waste yourself by living on excuses. Excuses drain your energy, rob you of your confidence, and poison your belief in what's possible. They keep you waiting for the perfect conditions. But let me tell you something. There will never be a perfect time. There will never be a perfect setup. And there will never be a perfect path. The perfect moment is the one you create when you stop excusing yourself and start moving forward. So, the question is not whether you have excuses. We all do. The question is whether you will keep feeding them or whether you will starve them by taking action anyway. Don't waste yourself by telling the same old story of why you can't. Write a new story of how you did. Refuse to let excuses be the chains that hold you down. Decide today that no excuse will ever be strong enough to bury your potential. Because when you stop living on excuses, you start living in power. And that power is the beginning of everything you've been waiting for. Stop living on excuses. Excuses are one of the most dangerous poisons you can ever swallow because they don't kill you instantly, they kill you slowly. They steal your time, your energy, your focus, and before you know it, years have passed and you've barely scratched the surface of who you could have been. Excuses are sneaky because they often sound reasonable, even logical. They make sense in the moment. They comfort you when you're afraid. They shield you from the risk of failure. But here's the hard truth. Excuses also shield you from the possibility of success. They protect you from disappointment, yes, but they also protect you from greatness. And if you want to make sure you don't waste yourself, you have to draw a line in the sand and say, no more excuses. From this moment on, I will not let my life be dictated by reasons that keep me small. I've seen it over and over again. Talented people with incredible potential who never move beyond the dream stage because they are wrapped in the blanket of excuses. I don't have the right connections. I don't have the time. I'm too young. I'm too old. I don't know where to start. Do you know what all those statements have in common? They are stories. Stories we tell ourselves to justify why we're standing still. But stories can be rewritten. And until you rewrite the story of your excuses, you'll keep living in the same chapter of regret. Let me tell you something I had to learn in my own life. There was a time I let excuses control me. When I was labeled a jukable mentally retarded as a child, that could have been my excuse. When teachers laughed at me, when people told me I wasn't smart enough, that could have been my excuse. And believe me, I carried that excuse around like a heavy coat I couldn't take off. It was comfortable to say, I can't do this because of my background. I can't achieve that because I'm not like them. But one day I realized that as long as I was hiding behind those excuses, I was wasting myself. I was allowing other people's opinions and my own fears to dictate the limits of my life. And I decided no more. I remember going to a radio station, scared out of my mind, asking for a job. They told me no. They told me I wasn't qualified. That was the perfect opportunity for an excuse. I could have walked away, said, well, at least I tried, and convinced myself that broadcasting just wasn't for me. But instead, I refused to let that excuse settle in my spirit. I showed up anyway. I volunteered. I ran errands. I cleaned floors. And one day, when they needed someone desperately, they gave me a chance. That chance changed the entire trajectory of my life. But it never would have happened if I had leaned on my excuses instead of leaning into persistence. Excuses are attractive because they keep you safe. They keep you in your comfort zone. They let you avoid rejection, avoid failure, avoid pain. But listen to me, safe will suffocate you. Safe will keep you sitting on the sidelines while life passes you by. Safe will leave you in the bleachers, cheering for other people who had the courage to get on the field. Excuses might keep you comfortable, but they will never make you fulfilled. And fulfillment only comes when you risk enough to discover what you're really capable of. I want you to take a hard look at your life right now and ask yourself, what excuses have I been holding on to? Be honest with yourself. Maybe it's, I don't have the money. Maybe it's, I've already failed too many times. Maybe it's, nobody believes in me. Whatever it is, you've got to expose it. Because once you shine a light on your excuses, you realize they're not walls at all. They're smoke. They disappear the moment you choose to walk through them. I'm not saying the road will be easy without excuses. It won't. But I'm telling you this, the pain of effort will always be easier to carry than the pain of regret. The struggle of trying will always be lighter than the burden of wondering. What if? Excuses lead to regret, and regret is the heaviest weight you'll ever drag through life. Don't waste yourself like that. When you stop living on excuses, you step into ownership. You take responsibility for your life. You say, I may not control where I started, but I control where I'm going. You say, I may not have all the resources, but I have my resourcefulness, and that's enough to begin. You say, I may fail, but I will fail forward, and I will fail until I succeed. That's the mindset that transforms wasted lives into legendary ones. So right here, right now, make a decision. Stop excusing yourself out of your future. Stop telling stories that keep you small. Stop allowing the fear of rejection or failure to dictate your path. Instead, step into courage, step into ownership, and step into your power. Don't waste yourself another day on excuses, because the world is waiting for what only you can bring. Face your fears head on. Fear is the silent thief of destiny. It sneaks into your life, whispers into your ear, and convinces you that playing small is safer than daring to be great. It tells you, don't try, because you might fail. Don't speak up, because they might laugh. Don't dream too big, because you might be disappointed. And if you listen long enough, fear will build a prison around your potential, and you'll spend your days pacing back and forth in a cage that you had the key to unlock all along. If you want to make sure you don't waste yourself, you have to learn to face your fears head on. I know what fear feels like. I know what it's like to be paralyzed, to feel your knees shaking, your stomach turning, your heart pounding in your chest, because you're about to step into something unfamiliar. I remember standing backstage before my very first big speech. My palms were sweating, my throat was dry, and a voice inside me screamed, "You don't belong here. You're going to embarrass yourself. Sit down before they laugh you off the stage." That was fear talking. And if I had listened, I would have sat down, walked away, and wasted the very opportunity that was designed to change my life. But I didn't. I stepped up, I opened my mouth, and I spoke from my heart. And though I stumbled, though my words weren't perfect, I discovered something powerful. Fear loses its grip the moment you face it. Fear thrives in avoidance. The more you run from it, the bigger it grows. It feeds on hesitation. It grows stronger with procrastination. And it becomes almost impossible to defeat when you give it years of your life. But when you face it, when you step into the arena, when you open your mouth, when you take the leap, fear shrinks. You realize it's not a monster at all. It's just smoke and mirrors. The scariest part of fear is the story you tell yourself about it. Think about it. How many times in your life did you fear something only to realize later it wasn't as bad as you thought? Maybe it was a test you were dreading, a conversation you were avoiding, a change you were resisting. You built it up in your mind, you replayed every worst case scenario, and then when it finally happened, you said that wasn't so bad. That's the nature of fear. It exaggerates, it magnifies, It takes a small challenge and turns it into a giant shadow. And most people spend their lives running from shadows. Don't let that be you. One of the greatest tragedies I've witnessed is how fear convinces people to trade their potential for security. I've seen brilliant minds stay in dead-end jobs because they feared the uncertainty of pursuing their dream. I've seen talented individuals keep their voices silent because they feared criticism. I've seen people with fire in their hearts bury it under a blanket of safety because the risk of being judged was too much for them to bear. And at the end of their lives, they don't regret the risks they took. They regret the chances they never had the courage to face. I want you to understand this courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward in spite of fear. Courage is looking fear in the eye and saying, "You will not control me today." It's taking one step forward when everything inside you screams to step back. It's raising your hand, making that call, applying for that opportunity, speaking your truth, even with your voice trembling. That's what separates those who waste themselves from those who use themselves fully. I've failed in front of people. I've made mistakes. I've stumbled. I've fallen flat on my face. But I'd rather fail in courage than succeed in fear, because every failure taught me something. Every stumble built my resilience. Every moment of embarrassment grew me into the man I am today. But if I had stayed in fear, if I had stayed in hiding, none of those lessons would have shaped me. Fear might protect you from pain, but it will also protect you from growth. And growth is the reason you're here. So if fear has been holding you hostage, it's time to break free. Stop waiting to feel fearless. That moment will never come. Take the leap afraid. Speak up afraid. Start the business afraid. Write the book afraid. Love again afraid. Because on the other side of that fear is the life you've been dreaming of. On the other side of that fear is freedom. Don't waste yourself by letting fear run your life. Don't waste yourself by sitting in the stands when you were made to be on the field. Don't waste yourself by dying with your dreams still locked inside you because you were too afraid to try. Face your fears head on, and you'll discover that fear was never your enemy. Fear was the compass pointing you to where your greatest growth was waiting. Take responsibility for your life. There comes a moment when you realize that no one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to hand you the life you dream of on a silver platter. No one is going to fight harder for your destiny than you. And if you're waiting for someone else to fix your life, you'll be waiting forever. If you don't want to waste yourself, you have to make a decision to take full responsibility for your life. Your choices, your actions, your attitude, your results. Because until you own it, you can't change it. For a long time in my own life, I wanted to point fingers. I wanted to blame my circumstances, my lack of education, the labels people put on me. It was easy to say, I can't because of this. I can't because of that. But here's the truth. As long as you're blaming, you're giving away your power. You're handing the keys of your life over to somebody else. You're saying, I can't move unless they move me. I can't rise unless they lift me. And when you live like that, you waste yourself, because your future becomes dependent on forces outside of your control. I remember a man I once knew who always complained about how nothing ever worked out for him. Every time you saw him, he had another excuse. The boss doesn't like me. The system is against me. If only I had what they had. And yet, when opportunities came, he turned them down. When challenges appeared, he walked away. He wasted himself not because he didn't have talent, but because he refused to take responsibility. Responsibility is heavy. It means admitting, if my life is going to change, it's up to me. If I want more, I've got to do more. If I don't like where I am, I've got to move. That's hard to accept, but it's liberating. Because the moment you take responsibility, you take back your power. Taking responsibility doesn't mean everything is your fault. Life will hit you with things you never asked for, never deserved, never saw coming. Pain, loss, betrayal, failure. Those things will come. But responsibility means you don't let those things define you. You don't let them pin you to the ground. You don't waste your life saying, "Why me?" Instead, you rise up and say, "What now? What can I do with what I have, where I am, with what's left?" Because life doesn't care about your excuses, but it will respond to your decisions. Think about the difference between people who take responsibility and people who don't. People who don't take responsibility see themselves as victims. They believe life is something happening to them, not something happening for them. They waste energy blaming others, resenting the past, complaining about the present. And in the process, they waste themselves. But people who take responsibility understand that even if they didn't choose the storm, they can choose how they sail through it. Even if they didn't choose the pain, they can choose what they create from it. Even if they didn't choose the setback, they can choose whether to rise again. That choice is everything. I want you to picture this. You're holding the pen to your life story. Every day, you write another sentence, another paragraph, another chapter. Now, if you hand that pen to someone else, they'll write the story for you. And it might not be the story you want. But if you take responsibility, you keep the pen in your hand. You may not control the plot twists that come your way, but you control how your character responds. And that response determines whether your story becomes a tragedy of wasted potential or a triumph of resilience and power. When I stopped blaming, stopped excusing, and started owning my life, everything began to shift. I realized that my past did not determine my future, unless I kept giving it permission to. I realized that no one owed me success. I had to earn it. I realized that the world wasn't going to pause and feel sorry for me. It was going to keep moving, and I had to move with it. And once I accepted that truth, I stopped wasting energy on what I couldn't control and started investing everything I had into what I could. Don't waste yourself by living in denial of your own power. Don't waste yourself by waiting for someone else to give you permission. Don't waste yourself by blaming your parents, your teachers, your boss, your community, or your circumstances. Yes, those things may have shaped you, but they do not have to define you. The definition of your life is in your hands. And the day you take responsibility is the day you stop wasting your potential and start using it. So make the decision. Say it out loud if you have to. I am responsible for my life. I am responsible for my future. I am responsible for the choices I make from this moment on. And when you take that responsibility, you take back the power to create, to grow, to succeed, to live fully. Don't waste yourself by running from that power. Embrace it and let it transform everything. Believe in the power within you. There's a force inside you that is greater than any obstacle, greater than any setback, greater than any voice that tells you you're not enough. But too many people go through life never tapping into that power. They look outside themselves for validation, for permission, for strength, when all along what they need is already within them. If you don't want to waste yourself, you must learn to believe in the power within you. The strength, the creativity, the resilience, the fire that has been there from the very beginning. I remember when I was a boy sitting in a classroom where the teacher labeled me Jukable, mentally retarded. That label could have broken me. That label could have been the end of my story before it even started. And for a while, I believed it. I believed I wasn't smart enough, wasn't capable enough, wasn't worthy of more. But then one day, someone saw something in me that I didn't yet see in myself. My mother and a teacher who cared enough told me, "Don't you let somebody else's opinion of you become your reality." That was the spark. That was the moment I began to understand that inside me was something greater than the labels, greater than the doubts, greater than the circumstances. That same power is inside you. But the challenge is, most people don't believe it. They've been beaten down by life, by failure, by disappointment, by rejection. They've heard no so many times they stopped asking. They've fallen so many times they stopped getting up. They've allowed the noise of the world to drown out the voice of possibility within them. And as a result, they waste themselves, not because they lack power, but because they lack belief in the power they already have. Let me tell you something, belief is the engine that drives everything. When you believe you can, your mind begins to search for ways, for strategies, for solutions. When you believe you're capable, you find the courage to step out, to risk, to try again. When you believe in yourself, you create momentum that nothing outside of you can stop. But when you don't believe, even the smallest challenge looks like a mountain. Even the smallest setback feels like a disaster. And even the smallest rejection feels like the end of the road. Think of the people who have achieved greatness in this world. None of them started with everything. Many of them started with nothing. Some of them came from poverty, from broken homes, from environments where nobody expected them to succeed. What separated them was not luck, not privilege, not connections. It was belief. They looked at themselves and said, "There is more in me. I don't care what it looks like right now. I don't care what people say about me. I know there is something inside me that can break through this." That belief fueled them when the odds were against them. And that same belief is available to you right now. But here's the catch: nobody can give you that belief. People can encourage you. People can inspire you. People can support you. But at the end of the day, you must decide to believe in yourself. You must decide to silence the voice of doubt and amplify the voice of strength within you. You must decide to say, "I can, I will, I must." Because if you don't, you will waste yourself waiting for someone else to convince you of what you were born knowing. I want you to remember this. You have survived 100% of the hardest days of your life. You have been through storms that should have broken you, but here you are. You have faced nights of fear, days of pain, seasons of loss, and you're still standing. That's power. That's strength. That's proof that you are capable of far more than you give yourself credit for. If you could survive what you've already survived, imagine what you can create when you finally start believing in yourself. Believing in the power within you doesn't mean you'll never doubt again. Doubt will still show up. Fear will still whisper. But belief means you don't let those voices stop you. Belief means you move forward even when the path isn't clear. Belief means you keep going when others quit, because you know that quitting is a waste of the gift inside you. Don't waste yourself by living small when you were born to live big. Don't waste yourself by waiting for permission when you already have the power. Don't waste yourself by believing the lies of your past when the truth of your future is waiting for you to step into it. Stand up today and declare, "There is greatness within me. There is strength within me. There is power within me, and I will not waste it." Because when you believe in the power within you, you unlock a force that can change not only your life, but the lives of everyone you touch. And that, my friend, is how you honor the gift of being alive. The price of wasting time is the most valuable resource you will ever have. Money can be lost and earned again. Opportunities can pass and sometimes return. But time, once it's gone forever. Every day, every hour, every moment is like currency being spent. The question is, are you investing it or are you wasting it? Too many people waste themselves because they waste their time. They don't see that every tick of the clock is a step closer to the end of their story. They live like they have forever. But the truth is, none of us knows how much time we have left. I want you to think about this. Every graveyard in the world is filled with unfulfilled dreams, unwritten books, unsung songs, unfinished ideas. People thought they had more time. They told themselves, I'll start tomorrow, I'll do it next week, I'll get serious later. And later never came. The saddest thing is not death. The saddest thing is dying with your potential still inside you, leaving the world without ever giving what you were meant to give. That's the price of wasting time. I learned this lesson in a very personal way. For years, I carried around ideas and goals in my mind, but I kept waiting for the right moment. I told myself, when things settle down, when I have more money, when I feel more confident, then I'll go after my dream. But the truth is, there is no perfect time. There is only now. And one day, I looked at the calendar and realized years had passed. Time was slipping through my fingers while I was waiting for permission to live. That realization shook me, because I knew if I didn't take action, I'd waste not only my time, but my life. And that's what so many of us are doing. We waste hours scrolling, complaining, doubting, procrastinating. We waste days in jobs we hate, but never dare to leave. We waste weeks saying, someday, months saying, not yet, and years saying, maybe. All the while, the clock is ticking, and the opportunities that were meant for us are passing by. The price of wasting time is not just regret. It's the life you could have lived, the person you could have become, the difference you could have made. But here's the good news. As long as you're still breathing, it's not too late. You can make a decision today to stop wasting time and start investing it. You can make a decision today to put your focus on what truly matters. You can decide to treat time as sacred, as precious, as something you refuse to throw away on things that don't serve your purpose. Because time wasted is life wasted, and life wasted is potential buried alive. When you wake up tomorrow, you'll be given 24 hours, the same as the richest person on earth, the same as the most successful entrepreneur, the same as the most impactful leader. The difference between them and the average person is not the amount of time they have, but how they use it. They understand that every minute is a seed, and how you plant it determines what harvest you reap. If you plant your minutes in discipline, in growth, in action, you reap success. If you plant them in procrastination, in fear, in distractions, you reap regret. Think about this one decision today could change the entire trajectory of your life. 1 hour of focus could move you closer to your dream than months of hesitation. 1 year of committed action could put you in a position you never imagined. But none of that will happen if you keep wasting time. The enemy of greatness is not lack of talent, not lack of opportunity. It's wasted time. So I challenge you, stop saying tomorrow and start saying now. Stop waiting for conditions to be perfect and start working with what you have. Stop telling yourself you don't have time, because you do. You have the same time as anyone else, and how you use it will determine what you become. Don't waste yourself by wasting your time. Don't let the years slip by in excuses and hesitation. Decide today that every minute of your life is too precious to be thrown away. Guard your time like treasure. Spend it wisely. Invest it in your growth, your purpose, your future. Because the truth is, one day your time will run out. And when that day comes, you want to leave this world empty. Having used up every gift, every talent, every dream, you want to say, I did not waste myself. I gave everything I had. I used my time well. That is the price of wasting time. And that is why you must decide right here, right now, that you will not pay it. Courage to face the unknown. There comes a point in every life where you are standing at the edge of the familiar, staring into the unknown. It's dark, uncertain, and intimidating. And in that moment, you have two choices: retreat back into what you know, or step forward into the mystery of what could be. Most people retreat. They go back to what's safe, what's predictable, what doesn't challenge them too much. But the problem with safety is that it's a cage disguised as comfort. And if you don't develop the courage to face the unknown, you will waste yourself by living half a life, existing but never truly living. I know what it feels like to tremble at the edge of that cliff, to wonder, what if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if I'm not enough? I know because I've been there. I've had dreams that terrified me, opportunities that felt too big, moments where I questioned if I had what it took. And I also know every breakthrough I've ever experienced happened when I chose to move forward despite the fear. The unknown will never stop being scary, but courage isn't about the absence of fear. It's about moving forward in spite of it. Think about it. Every person you admire, every great leader, every innovator, every pioneer, they all stepped into the unknown. They didn't know how it would work out. They didn't know if they'd succeed, but they had the courage to try. The airplane wasn't invented by people who were certain. It was invented by people who dared to believe in what wasn't yet proven. The first person to climb Everest didn't have a guarantee. They had courage. The men and women who changed history didn't start with certainty. They started with courage. And here's the truth: your future is waiting for you in the unknown. Everything you desire, growth, breakthroughs, success, fulfillment, it's not in the comfort zone you've been clinging to. It's out there, past the fear, past the doubt, past the questions you don't have answers to. That's why courage is not optional, it's essential. Without it, you stay where you are. With it, you discover who you're meant to be. I remember when I first stood up to speak to an audience. My palms were sweaty, my heart was pounding, and my mind was screaming, "You can't do this." The unknown was all around me. What if they laughed? What if I forgot my words? What if I embarrassed myself? But in that moment, I had to decide, was I going to let fear dictate my life, or was I going to step into the unknown? I chose courage. And when I spoke, something happened. I discovered a gift inside me I never would have known existed if I had backed down. That moment changed the trajectory of my life. Too many of us miss those life-changing moments because we're waiting for the fear to go away. We're waiting until we feel ready, until we feel certain, until we feel strong enough. But let me tell you something: you'll never feel completely ready. You'll never have all the answers. You'll never know for sure how it will turn out. And that's okay, because courage is not about having guarantees. It's about trusting yourself to step forward anyway. Ask yourself, how many dreams have I delayed because I was afraid of the unknown? How many chances have I passed up because I wanted certainty? How much of my life have I wasted waiting for a feeling of safety that never came? If you're honest, the answer might break your heart, but it should also wake you up. Because as long as you're still alive, you still have a chance to choose courage. Here's what courage does. It reveals strength you didn't know you had. It introduces you to parts of yourself that only appear under pressure. It opens doors you didn't know were there. It creates opportunities that would have remained hidden if you stayed where it was comfortable. Courage expands you, and the more you use it, the stronger it grows. So I challenge you today, step into the unknown. Say yes to that opportunity. Make the call, take the risk, write the book, start the business, have the conversation. Do the thing that scares you, because that's where the growth is. Don't waste yourself by shrinking back into the familiar. Don't waste yourself by letting fear control your destiny. Decide today that courage will be your guide, even when the path is unclear. Because at the end of your life, you won't regret the times you tried and failed. You'll regret the times you never tried at all. You'll regret the moments you let fear win, the opportunities you let pass by, the gifts you never gave, because you were too afraid of the unknown. Don't let that be your story. Let your story be one of courage, of bold steps, of risks taken, of a life fully lived. Courage doesn't mean you won't be afraid. It means you won't let fear waste you. Don't waste yourself, my friend. Your life is not an accident. You are here for a reason. Inside you, there are dreams, talents, and possibilities that the world has never seen before, and will never see again if you don't release them. Don't waste yourself by making excuses. Don't waste yourself by waiting for the perfect time. Don't waste yourself by letting fear of the unknown paralyze you. This is your moment. This is your time. Every second is a chance to choose courage, to choose growth, to choose action. When you leave this world, leave it empty, with nothing left inside, because you gave it all, you tried it all, you lived it all. Don't waste yourself. Live boldly, live fully, live now.